Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of SaaS Marketing Podcast by Concurate. Today, we have a very special guest. She is the head of content and co founder of our agency, and she believes brands do not sell products, they sell a voice, and she helps brands find theirs. Welcome to the show, Aditi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Subhashi. It's
Thank you.
wonderful talking to you here today.
So, Aditi, today's topic of discussion is the new GEO framework by Concurate. So, to just begin the discussion today, I want to ask you what inspired you to create the GEO framework and why did you name it the perfect match?
That's a nice story to it. So it originated from a question we could not answer well. So there was a discovery call with the client, 11 members from that team, one from ours. Now, all those 11 were leading different departments from their AI champions to their marketing to branding. And as you can imagine, the brand had global operations and some 60,000 plus employees. Now they asked us a question. They asked, what is your framework to bring brands in AI answers? The problem was we did not have a framework. Now, why does someone ask for a framework? Essentially, they want to know that if there is a problem that you have been able to solve, and not just one time, but every time. And you have a set of steps that can be followed to solve that problem for anyone. So while we were solving it for ourselves, our clients, like they found us via ChatGPT. So of course we had solved it for ourselves. All we needed was to pen it down. And that's where the idea of Geo Framework came in. To your second question, why did we name it Perfect Match? So the reason is everybody wants to attract ideal person. If it's life, they want to have ideal life partners. If it is business, clients want to attract agencies that can be strategic partners to them, add value, and bring the results that they are looking for. At the same time, as agencies, we have some clients who become our favorites, and we want that every client should be like that. So to have this thing, we called it a perfect match.
Yes. So that sounded very interesting, Aditi. The framework begins with a very simple question. Who is your ideal buyer? And that sounds very marketing 101. So why does GEO make ideal customer profiling more important?
That's a great question, Subhashri. So the data says that the people who are landing on your website after doing their research on AI tools, they tend to convert better. To give you some numbers, HubSpot says the chances of conversion are 3 times higher. SEMrush says 4 times higher. And there was one AHF study where they said it's 23 times higher. So even if we do not go into which number is right or wrong, we need to understand the logic that before AI tools, when people were searching on Google, they would make their shortlists by going to multiple websites, checking what fits their list, what does not fit their list. And that's how they would shortlist a couple, go for demos, and take next steps. But
Absolutely.
with AI tools, their queries are far more nuanced. It's easy to reject members on the shortlist if they are not meeting the criteria. To give you an example, let's say someone is looking for a B2B SaaS for CRM. Let's say they are looking for a CRM. Now, as per the history of the marketing 101, it's suggested to write articles like best CRM tool for XYZ kind of company, right? Maybe small, medium, or whatever. But that was a broad search, and Google only allowed sort of that much, right? In AI tools, people can write stuff like it's for a globally distributed client set, it's for a large enterprise, so security matters a lot, or it is the one where the learning curve is really low, or like that, they can add stuff like pain points, objections, or challenges, etc. So the more detailed their search is, the more suitable answer they get from AI. So when the search is so strong, the shortlist is also strong. And that is the reason they convert higher. Hence, it's very important to have a clear cut idea of who your ideal customer profile is. Just let's say in the past years, I have seen at Concurate also, let's say we attracted a client. Okay. We did a pilot for them. And after going through the pilot, they like our work also. But then when it comes to pricing, they
Yes.
would say, we don't have the budget or things like that. And then after a few months, they will again come back realizing the value we bring to the table. And then they would say, can you do three more pieces for us or things like that. So ideally, we want to, shorten the sales cycle. We don't want it to be like 3 months or so. And with a clear idea of who your ideal customer profile is, you can get more specific in your content and ensure that you are attracting the people who will not just be easier to convert, but you will be able to have a long term partnership with, mutually beneficial one.
This is in the case where your clients are well aware of what they want and they have recipe documents and uh, data sets as such. But what do you do when your client hands you absolutely nothing? There's no ICP, there is no documentation. Where does it actually go digging for that information?
Again, a good question, Subhashi. This has happened. We would ask ideal customer profile and they would be able to tell only a few things like what role, what geography, yeah, and maybe a couple more data points about the client. So what we usually do is we set up an interview call with their sales team, and that way we are able to dig deeper into understanding of who their champion customers are and what shall be the goals or aspirations or challenges of that particular champion customer. And we have a detailed questionnaire set for it. And there is often a friction if you send a form to your client, it might not come back to you for weeks. So what we do is we do it over a call. We just quickly ask them and fill in this so that we have a hyper targeted ICP.
Okay. So, Aditi, now let's talk about implementation. So, can you walk me through what it actually looks like to benchmark a brand's AI visibility? Like, what are you actually doing there? Like, are you trying or chatting with ChatGPT and seeing what's come back? So, like, how does it look like?
Okay, so the benchmarking thing. Now, before we get into how we do it, let's look at why it is important. So we work with enterprises, and in enterprises, there are multiple decision makers, right? And everything works on data. So they need
Yes.
to have some sort of baseline that currently where the brand is appearing in AI answers. And if they engage with Concurate, how do those numbers look like month after month, right? Because they need to justify, they need to get the approval whether they have chosen the right agency or not. Okay. So what, and I told you why. Now let me tell you what. Okay. So at Concurate, we have always advocated that write the content that brings leads, right? So what we do is based on the IC, we create some 25 queries, okay, which are specifically for shortlisting B2B SaaS or comparing with competitors or seeking proof that whether a particular B2B SaaS is the right fit for me or not. So, based on those queries, or for each of those queries, we go to five different AI tools: ChatGPT, Perplexity, Copilot, Grok, Gemini, whatever. We'll run those queries. When we are running those queries, so this will become like 25 times 5, some 125 questions, right? We will see how often our client's brand is occurring. And specifically, we will track where it should have come, but it has not come.
Has not.
And during that benchmarking phase, we'll also do something which is called a citation analysis. That is,
Okay.
we'll check what kind of sources the AI tools are picking the information from.
Okay.
What so let's say in B2B SaaS, we specifically observed that they are picking from listicles, from case studies, or from third party content. So based on that, we will just make notes at this stage as to what kind of sources and content we need to work.
So, Aditi, you must have done a lot of benchmarking for a lot of your clients, I assume. What's the red flag moment that you have had recently during one of these benchmarking exercises? Like something completely surprising and concerning that you found in how a brand was showing up in AS?
Yeah, yeah. So there was this one client, though they were not really a B2B SaaS company. In their case, we identified a negative perception risk. Now, what do I
Okay.
mean by that? They sell this insurance product and repair services for appliances somewhere in UK. There is this concept of repair and care plan. That is whenever your, let's say, washing machine is broken. Okay. So what you do is, and this is when you are out of warranty. You look for how do you go about the repair. Now, one way for them is to go for a local engineer, and other way is to have only certified engineer from the company, and then how much would the local engineer cost, how much would the company engineer cost, how much time it will take. Like that, there are multiple parameters based on which the appliance owner takes a decision whether they want to go for one-off repair, repair and care, or they want to go with a local engineer or a company certified engineer. Now, what we observed was in majority cases, AI tools were recommending to go with local engineers, and our client was losing business to them. So this was a negative brand perception risk that we identified. And then when we were doing the citation analysis for this, we observed that it is picking a lot of information from Reddit threads, wherein the Redditors have mentioned that why at all do you have to buy a repair care plan? Just save some money. There is like not 100% guarantee that your machine will break. So whenever it is required, you use money from that and things like that. And like that, there were many threads and there were some public consumer studies also. So in this benchmarking stage, we also figure out a brand risk like this. And then we come up with the ideas based on citation analysis as to what we need to do to fix that perception.
So was your client aware of this perception that was running around in Reddit that time?
So while they had a feel that they are losing to local engineers, they did not know that why it is doing it. Because in our analysis we could figure which threads are influencing the decision or which consumer studies are influencing the decision, which third party blogs are influencing the decision. And when we gave them that insight, they were like really amazed. And after the pilot, they again came back to us asking to repeat the thing for their other service offerings.
That's
So
great. So, Aditi, one thing that is really interesting in this GEO framework is that the framework is split the audit into content and technical. So, I want to know how does it actually all pan out?
So, content and technical audit. So, one thing is, can AI read your information from your website? Is one thing. And is AI able to get the information from your website where it feels confident enough to recommend your brand in the answer? That's why there are two parts to it. One is the technical audit and one is the content audit. In technical audit, we check stuff like whether the information is structured enough for AIs to pick or not. Is any content blocked for bots from AI tools, which we can figure out from robots.txt? Are there schemas or not to give that structured information? Then is anything broken? So for that, we would usually run technical site health scans that if there is a thing like one is broken links and other is, let's say there are a lot of JavaScripts or other heavy HTML elements which might be blocking AI tools from getting the information they need to compose their answers in your favor. So there we figure that out. On content side, we figure that so old playbook people were doing lot of content where they were sort of providing information, right? Now, what has happened is people get majority of that information from AI overviews. They don't even click on your website, right? So there is this popular thing in the circle which is called as zero clicks.
Yes.
Right. And across the board, people are seeing decline in the traffic. Yes, that decline will be traffic in the there. It will be there because people get their information without actually visiting your website. So we check if you have written the content which brings you
Business.
right? So have you written listicles? Have you written comparison pieces? Are your case studies written in a compelling enough manner to again move the needle in your favor? So those kind of things we check in the content audit part.
Aditi, when we are working on a technical front, like on the technical side with the client, a lot of the time they will feel like, okay, your expertise is content. Maybe the client is not much aware of the technical stuff. So how is the collaboration there? Like, are we working with dedicated POCs with developers? Like, how does it all look like?
It often happens that clients initially do not agree. We have to coach them. We have to make them understand why a certain thing is necessary and how it is going to help. And for that, maybe if we show them the proof, let's say we have done a lot of air visibility studies for different brands in different industries and domains. And we have backtracked the stuff. We have shown where they are picking the information to recommend the brand. And on technical side also, how do their vitals look like? How does their cycle look like? So based on that, whenever we are in a situation like this, it needs to be a logical discussion. We
Hmm.
need to lead by the facts, and then the clients would agree. And of course, let's say if their side, the developer or the technician is not, available for the kind of bandwidth we need, maybe they are not the right client for us. Because unless the client is equally involved and is convinced that marketing is not really a cost center, but it
Hmm.
is the one which can bring the leads that sales team would love. So then you must continue working with them. Otherwise, you should wait, because what we have seen is, I still remember there this one client who tried to lowball the price with us. And in fact, they were like, yeah, there is another agency who's ready to do it in half the price as you. So we said, okay, go ahead and do it with them. And then months later, they got back to us. And so it is okay. See, everyone has a learning curve. And
Absolutely.
marketing is something that is not their first responsibility. They are growing their business, their product, and stuff. So it is okay. But for us as an agency, like I remember earlier, I mentioned that thing, why it
Yes,
isn't.
yes.
So for Concurate, whosoever our POC on the other side is, if they do not have a general content marketing knowledge, if they do not know how organic works like, and that it's a long term game, it's not like the paid performance thing that you get instant leads and stuff, then they are not a right fit for us, because we would like to work with CMOs or founders who have a decent idea that these things take time and this is how it should be. That way, there is no expectation mismatch, right?
Hmm.
So, in fact, when they are doing their shortlisting, they might be asking things like, how soon can they show results? Or so if an agency is saying like, in 1 month we can do this, it's a trap and it's a red flag for
Red
them.
flag.
It's really a right agency kind of.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, yeah.
So, Aditi, with the depth of auditing that is being done in the benchmarking, there is definitely something broken that is being shown. So, once you know what's broken, how do you decide what to prioritize first? Like, is it always based on the content gaps, or does it also depend on the preferences of the client or their strategic goals?
So mostly and primarily at Concurate, we start with the content that is required for shortlisting. So mostly listicles, comparisons, alternatives. It's a must. That is the foundational thing. Okay. Now, let's say if we observe that it's a very new client,
Hmm.
sometimes what happens is veterans in industry feel that they want to use their knowledge and create products. So, for example, we have a 3-decade experienced patent attorney who has developed a patent management software. So, in a case like that, when everything is new, the website is also new, we also need to work on topical authority. We also need to
Absolutely.
work on personal branding of the founder or things like that.
Hmm.
So, based on how the situation looks like or the existing stage of that company or brand, we take next steps. So first, definitely that listicle content, okay, comparison pieces, and then something for topical authority, and then LinkedIn is for distribution. And we have also observed that in I answers, how do they compose? YouTube also plays an important role. So. Uh, we did it for one of our clients, wherein we started repurposing the demo recordings into YouTube shorts. Now, the idea is in that prospects ask the real questions. And when we are answering, so for example, somebody asked, how can we reduce our dependence on outside counsel for that patent management software thing? We had an answer from the founder because they gave the demo and showed in the call. So we could get that clip and just publish. And that way, we are able to get closer to the real questions of our target audience. So,
Hmm.
the strategy thing, which is the next stage of our perfect framework, is where all this happens. Then,
All right.
based on the budget of the client, how much they are willing to invest. Plus, we do not believe in the volume game.
Hmm.
We believe that 3 to 4 blog pieces a month are enough, but they should be targeted towards attracting the ideal customers.
So,
So,
Aditi, in your experience, has it ever happened that you're going into a client call all prepared with your topic, but the client also came prepared with their own topics for the vlogs that they want to write off, maybe? Has it ever happened?
so sometimes that does happen.
Hmm.
And in that case, let's say if we were to do four, and if they have a business priority, right? So what we'll do is we'll try to figure out, while keeping their business priority in mind, what kind of content that we can come up with. So sometimes it may happen, let's say a client has, let's say one of our clients, they are into weapon detection systems. They cater to different customer segments. It's hospitals, schools, then there is this casinos and all. So let's say business wise, season wise, let's say school is a priority. So then maybe we'll pick that. But in that also, if we were to do four pieces, two definitely need to be about helping in them getting shortlisted for the target audience. Other than that, what you also look at is, let's say they want to do some how to content. So what we do is we try to plug in their product into it, so that even if the person is not directly looking for the product but trying to solve a problem that their product can solve, we have an opportunity to get the client's product discovered. So based on the discussion, mutually we come up with a content plan.
And Aditi, Concurate GEO Framework also puts a real emphasis on non-generic content, whether you're interviewing in-house experts or test posting or using original data. So why does AI search punish generic content so specifically?
So as Sushi, you would know, AI has commoditized content. Now, what is that? Anyone can rehash the content or just get AI to produce the content, right?
Yes, yes,
But
absolutely.
AI doesn't pick that content. So until and unless AI is able to find something original or non-generic in your content to find, it might not cite you. So to give you an example, recently we were reverse engineering the Geo playbook for an expense management software called RAM. They are doing something incredibly amazing with this original data or the non-generic content thing. So they publish two kinds of studies every month. One is AI index. So RAM being expense management software and selling credit cards to corporates, and with 70,000 plus clients, they have a big database of where the corporates are spending their money, right? On which software products. Okay. So they take out that data anonymously. Like, they are not knowing that, let's say, what is HubSpot spending or what is Salesforce spending. No, not that. But the clients, which software they're buying. So one of their studies, which also got covered by New York Times and Atlantic, was about how Anthropic outranked ChatGPT. OpenAI in the expenses, like that particular month, they observed that corporates spent significantly higher on Anthropic than ChatGPT, and that was the news that got covered. Right? And we also observed that RAM was increasingly like getting recommended in the AI answers. This original data study is not just here, but we have seen it with our other clients. In fact, at GreyB also, they have a lot of internal data. They have data published on, like, they have numerous database portals, and again GreyB also gets recommended very often in the AI searches. So it's really important for B2B SaaS companies to make use of this data goldmine that they are sitting on to uh, to get loved by AI.
So, Aditi, once the benchmark is done, topics are decided. It's the time for creation. So, what does a working relationship with a client look like during the create phase? Like, how involved do they need to be?
Uh, During the initial onboarding time, we would go in interviews with sales teams, their internal experts, and we understand that our enterprise clients are busy. So we try to ensure that we need to have their minimum involvement when we need the expert insights from them. We go after doing our own thorough research, and we take only those questions to them that cannot be answered by internet, which are specific
Okay.
to them, right? Then, while we try to keep all that minimized, we also want to have someone dedicated for reviewing the content from their side, because we have observed if there are not, someone accountable for reviewing or ensuring the publishing and stuff, the content waits in the pipeline. And the more content waits in the pipeline, the less visible it gets, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
in that case, we try to figure out a mutually agreed cadence from our side and
Hmm.
the client side. And then sometimes we also come up with the content that doesn't require review if they do not have bandwidth. So, for example, something like a programmatic SEO thing,
Okay.
wherein Let's say if you have gotten a template approved by the client, we start working on that. And they do not need to review every piece that we create based on that, right? And usually in such content, what we do is, let's say the tool gives a set of information, right? So we show some information, but we keep some information hidden. And for
Okay.
that, people need to sign up. That way, we are also able to bring leads for our client.
So, Aditi, the entire GEO landscape in the recent marketing conversations has been ultra dynamic, I'll say. So, GEO feels like it could shift overnight if there is a model update. So, how you as an agency monitor something that is so volatile, and how do you know if your strategy is actually working?
The search behavior or the model thing will keep changing. But what we had observed was the decisions and the information required to make that decision is not really changing. So, whatever medium is required to deliver that, we will adapt. For us, when this geo thing was new, we were able to get our clients on Google top pages and bring them leads, right? And the moment the search behavior moved to the AI tools, we continuously learned and started bringing our clients in AI answers also. So at Concurate, we have this thing that we need to continuously learn and evolve. But the foundational principles do not change, right? So till the time we are able to keep the foundation strong, it doesn't really matter.
So, Aditi, we have now come to the last question of our conversation. Without naming anyone, what's the glow up story you're proud of where a brand went from invisible in AI answers to genuinely showing up?
So far, I'll be honest with you, that kind of story is not there because for our clients, we were already doing well on Google. And we observed that the brands that are doing well on Google are largely doing well on AI also, right? Of course, in our studies, we observed that AI is also able to read the content which was not ranking on Google, but that was for very, very specific and very nuanced queries, right? So, in fact, in our study, we saw that our knowledge based queries for one of the clients. So we have developed this whole knowledge base for our client. It might not be ranking on Google, but when an AI tool, if somebody is asking that how do I do X with this tool, those kind of content was getting in AI answers. So far, I do not have any study like that. But yeah, let's see if in future we are able to do something like that.
Definitely, definitely. So, Aditi, it was a pleasure talking to you today. And yeah, I'll see you soon in another episode then. Bye
Absolutely.
bye.
Let's keep doing more of these. See you. Bye bye.